Princess Vaelora asked Earth for a hero, someone bright enough for statues and songs, and humanity sent Inspector Jonah Reyes with muddy boots and the terrifying habit of asking for receipts. The court of Illyrian had expected a war captain, a giant in battle armor who would kneel before the princess and swear to slay the rebels burning the outer provinces. Vaelora had prepared a speech about courage. Then Jonah stepped from the shuttle, carrying one scanner and warrants. He looked at the jeweled generals and asked, "Who signed the evacuation orders for Tern Valley?" The room went colder than space. General Erix laughed first. Because powerful men often laugh when they mistake danger for rudeness. Tern Valley was lost to rebel cruelty, he said. 300,000 citizens butchered, farms burned, children stolen. Vaelora felt the ache of that tragedy, the one her tutors had used to teach her hatred. She expected Jonah to promise vengeance. Instead, he opened his notebook. "Then why do your fuel records show troop carriers leaving empty 6 hours before the attack?" That was the first crack in the legend. Vaelora straightened on the crystal dais. "Inspector, I asked Earth for a hero." Jonah looked at her without bowing. "You got one kind, Highness? Just not the kind that kills first and asks later." The nobles hissed. The generals reached for sword hilts. But the old queen watched from her shadowed throne and said nothing, because she recognized a blade even when it looked like paper. Jonah began with survivors, not soldiers. He went to the refugee quarter where smoke still lived in hair, where mothers held ration bowls like prayers, where old farmers flinched at palace aircraft. Vaelora followed in disguise, angry at his coldness. Curious about his courage, he did not give speeches, he listened. A girl drew the attack in ash. A mechanic named the units that blocked the bridge. A blind priest described engine oil before the first rebel shell fell. With every testimony, Vaelora felt the official story twisting inside her hands. Then Jonah found the grave that was not on any map. It lay beneath an orchard, covered by prayer stones and official silence. The palace claimed rebels had buried victims there. But Jonah scanned soil layers, measured blast direction, photographed uniform buttons, and knelt beside a child-sized bracelet still clasped around bone. His face changed then, not into rage, but into something worse. A calm so deep it frightened the guards. "Highness," he said, "your enemies did not do this alone." Vaelora wanted to strike him. Instead, she asked, "Prove it." So the human did. He reconstructed Tern Valley in the war chamber. Every transport, every distress call, every erased command. Light-forming ghosts above the table, the rebels had attacked. Yes. But the valley shield had been lowered from inside the royal grid. The rescue road had been blocked by tanks. Grain stores had burned too early. And troop carriers meant for civilians had been rerouted to save noble treasure. When the projection ended, no one breathed. The hero had not brought a sword. He had brought a mirror. General Erix rose, face dark with fury. "This is enemy fabrication." Jonah tapped the table. "Then why did your personal code authorize the shield drop?" Erix drew his blade, and every noble gasped in relief. Because finally, the scene looked like a story they understood. Villain, hero, weapon, duel. But Jonah did not draw a pistol. He pressed a button. And the doors opened to reveal refugee witnesses, junior officers, and a live broadcast to every province. That was when courage stopped being theatrical. Erix froze. The people watched him watching them. Jonah said, "General Erix, you are accused of abandonment, evidence destruction, unlawful sacrifice of civilians, and conspiracy to profit from reconstruction contracts. You may speak," Erix snarled. "I saved the capital," Jonah nodded. "Maybe. But today you do not get to hide the dead behind victory banners." Vaelora felt her childhood ending in public. She looked at the queen, expecting denial. "Command, Royal Thunder." But the old woman closed her eyes. And Vaelora understood her mother had suspected enough, and had chosen stability over truth. The princess stepped down and stood beside Jonah before the witnesses. Her voice shook, but it carried. "Arrest General Erix, seize the ledgers, open the sealed archives, and place my household accounts under review." The court erupted. Some called her traitor, some saint, some foolish child. Jonah said nothing. Because accountability is not applause. It is paperwork with blood on it. The guards hesitated at Eric's rank. Then Vaelora removed her royal signet and gave it to the refugee girl with the ash drawings. By witness of the harmed, she said, let the arrest stand. And the guards moved. Eric's lunged. Jonah was faster. He stepped inside the swing, broke the general's wrist against the table edge, and put him face down among the glowing ghosts of Tern Valley. The witnesses did not cheer, they wept. And somehow, that sounded more powerful. The trials were uglier than battles. Friends, allies, cousins, tutors. Officers whose portraits hung in schools. All faced the dead in open court. Vaelora attended each hearing. Looking less like a princess from a song, and more like a ruler being made by fire. Jonah sat at the evidence desk, refusing gifts, titles, in every attempt to turn him into the myth she had wanted. The final verdict came under an open sky. Eric and his co-conspirators were stripped of rank. Stolen wealth was returned to the valley. The queen abdicated. And Princess Vaelora took the crown before survivors, not nobles. Her first decree created a civilian court with power over the throne. Her second named Tern Valley a protected witness of history. Her third thanked Earth, not for sending a warrior, but for sending someone who loved justice more than approval. When Jonah boarded his shuttle, Vaelora stopped him at the ramp. I wanted a hero, she said. Jonah looked past her at refugees, guards, and children drawing flowers over old ash. Most people do, Highness. They are easier than audits. She almost smiled. You ruined my legends. He handed her his notebook. Good legends survive truth. Bad ones deserve to die. The princess looked at the names inside. Jonah smiled gently. Build a kingdom where ordinary people do not need heroes to survive. And that was how the alien princess learned that humanity's greatest gift was not glory. It was the unbearable mercy of telling the truth, even when the truth wore her crown.